भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Okay, so we are in the last shloka of Sadhana Panchakam. We have seen 4 shlokas so far, and in our Corona series, today is the 8th lecture. With this, we will conclude hopefully Sadhana Panchakam and the Corona series as well, I think. Okay, so we will see. We have in the last 4 shlokas, there is a certain kind of an order. There's a certain kind of a logic with which Shankarcharya has taken us in terms of what we should do. And he takes these steps to its logical final goal. And that final goal for all of us is to escape from the samsara. The final goal for all of us is to escape the clutches of birth and death. Therefore, as a logical conclusion to these steps, today's shlokas takes us there. So before we see it, let's recite the last week's shloka and quickly see the summary of what it is telling us. Kshudvyadischa sikitsyatam pratidinam bhikshaushadam bhujyatam swadannam natu yachyatam vidivashat praptena santushyatam sitoshnadi vishahyatam natu vrita vakyam samucharyatam audasinyam abhipsyatam janakripa naishturyam utsrujyatam. So this is the shloka we saw last time. As we see here, the first 3 lines talk about, first 4 lines actually talk about a certain thing that we need to do. First 3, actively practice on a daily basis Dhamma. Dhamma is the sensory control, and the best thing to start is from the food. That's why he takes the example of the food. It no way indicates only in food. It only indicates food as an example and a starter. Then steps 28 and 29. Vidivashat prapyena santushyatam and sitosham sahishyatam. Those 2 actually takes us to the next step of Shama. Shama is not the outward control, not the control of karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, but Shama is developing a certain kind of control of the antakaranas, manas, chitta, ahankara, all those. That's why titiksha is very important. So he says, develop it. So he says, practice it actually. Those ideas are actually ideas for practice. Then, of course, in the last 3 things that he has, Natuvruta Vakyam Samucharyatam, then he says Audasinyam Abhipsyatam, all that, right? Janakripa Naishturyam Usrijyatam. So all these are indicating start developing or start inculcating social not social distance, that is for our corona and all that. This is social avoidance. In the sense, reducing the need for socialization. Slowly, we need to do something about that. So that is what is being indicated in this particular set of shlokas. So now the question is, where is he going to actually take us further? Now that all this has happened, the question is, where is he going to take us further? So before we get into the next step that he is talking about, let us look at this shloka from Viveka Chudamani, because again, that's also Acharya's work only. It is indicative of what to expect and how to understand this transition that is happening. So look at this shloka. It says, Shrutehe Shatagunam Vidyat Mananam. So Shravanam, whatever here Shruti means that which has been heard, meaning Shravanam. So while Shravanam has its own advantages, Mananam, he says, is 100-fold. Shatagunam Vidyat Mananam. So he says, from Shravanam, we have to go to Mananam because the benefits are going to be more. Then he says, Mananadapi Nididhyasam Lakshagunam. So he says, see, Shravanam to Mananam, he went 100 times. Mananam to Nididhyasam, he has gone Lakshagunas, which means, in a simple mathematics, from hearing to Nididhyasam, it is Koti. Because, 100 Laksha is a Koti. So if you use a simple math, what he is saying is, Shruti is fine, Shravanam is fine, but Mananam is far more better than Shravanam, and Nididhyasam is the even more better. Then he says, finally, Anantam Nirvikalpam. That's what it says. Anantam Nirvikalpam. That's what it is saying. So he says, although Nididhyasanam is fine, but it says Anantam is Nirvikalpam. So reaching that Nirvikalpa is the ultimate state, and that is what we must be doing. So that's what it is saying. So I think he is going to take us through this path. We found in the second shloka, there were a lot of ideas for Shravanam. In the third shloka, there was a lot of ideas for Mananam. Vakyartam Vicharyatam, Shruti Shiro, Paksha Samadhiyatam, Dusturkas Suviramyatam, all those. Shruti Shira, Pakshas, Samakarnyatam, all those. So in the third week, there were a lot of emphasis on Mananam. In the fourth week, which is what we just saw, it's all about practice, Nididhyasanam. So now in this week, he is going to, if you use this logic, he is going to take us to the ultimate, and he's going to give some sadhanas for that. So Swami Chinmayanandaji used to say, I was just reading it somewhere, that don't rush off to the peaks to meditate. Meditation itself will take you to the peaks. So this is that path, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. We have spent enough time on all these, and that will take us finally to the ultimate. So that's what is happening also in Sadhana Panchakam as it moves to the final shloka. So let us now look at the final shloka. Ekante sukhamasyatam paratare chetas samadhiyatam purnatma susamikshyatam jagadidam तद्बाधितं दृश्यताम् प्राक्कर्म प्रविलाप्यताम् Chitibalat, if you want to split it, Chitibalat napyuttarai slishyatam. You want to say it together? Chitibalan napyuttarai slishyatam prarabdam tviha bhujyatam atapara brahmatmanastiyatam. So again, there are 8 steps here. Ekante sukam asyatam. You revel in ekanta. Paratare chetaha samadhiyatam. Rest your mind, the samadhana, rest your mind in the paratara, the ultimate. Paratare chetaha samadhiyatam. Then Purna Atma Susamiksyatam. See, get yourself the experience and the vision of Purna Atma if you go in this manner. Purna Atma Susamiksyatam. Jagadidam tad baditam drishyatam. This experience that you get what is happening? Okay. Prakarma pravilapyatam. Prak is Purva Karma. So expend the Purva Karma. Chitibalat, using your power of your mind and your wisdom. Na api uttaraihi slishyatam. So don't create any more future karma. That's what it is saying. Prarabdam tviha bhujyatam ata parabrahmatmana stiyatam. So in this janma that we are now living through, you consume the prarabdha. Prarabdam tviha bhujyatam. Then finally he says, ata parabrahmatmana stiyatam. Therefore, finally rest in Parabrahman. So that is what quickly he says, but anyway, we need to understand it in a fair amount of detail. So let's see that. So what is this path that we have traveled so far? After the first shloka is all about doing the karma properly and offering it as an offering to the God and all that. Then from the second onwards, it started more serious things, shloka onwards. So it is about study of scriptures. If you remember, it said Sadvidwan Upasrupyatam Pratidinam Tat Paduka Sevyatam. Then it also said Shruti Sira Vakyo Samakarnyatam. So start studying these scriptures. That's what it happened in the second shloka. then contemplation, little practice, all these, this third and fourth sloka, we saw all these, vichara and nididhyasana and so on. And towards the end of the fourth sloka, this, uh, withdrawing from the social things, social, moving away and all that. So withdrawing slowly from the world of action, developing titiksha and dhamma and shama. So when we do all these, suppose if we take these steps very seriously and we keep doing it, let us say, the question is, what will happen? There is a question. If somebody really takes all these serious, that they study the scriptures, contemplation, practice, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, all that is happening. Then, withdrawing slowly from the world of action, everything is happening. Then, question is, what will happen? First of all, there's a lot of work which the mind has been engaged is gone now. What are we trying to do? We are withdrawing mind from so many things that it was actually engaging in the outside world. That is what is happening by these practices. The mind was bothered about something, now it is not bothered anymore about it. The mind was all the time eavesdropping on somebody's expressions and somebody's feelings, somebody who told something about me, he commented, that happened. All those, the mind is withdrawing. So when the mind is constantly doing this, then the question that comes is, what will the mind do? So the first thing that we can sort of guess, or logically at least argue, is the external outlook to the mind will start shrinking. Because all these activities were in the external world. If you develop titiksha, dhamma and shama, then the external world slowly gets out of the mind space. So in that sense, the external world remains. Please understand, when I say external world gets off, it is not that the world disappears. It is no longer becomes the context for doing anything. That is what I mean. Which means it exists. It exists, so there is a sense of indifference and all that. So the point is, what will the mind do eventually? Well, it has no other possibility other than settling inside. There is no more place for the mind to go now, because slowly we have withdrawn all these things. Therefore, the mind has nothing else to do but to settle inside, as there is no more place for the mind to go. And that settling inside, which is what Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Atma Samyama Yoga, in a way he has discussed all that. And if you look at that chapter, after about 20-22 shlokas, you will find the next 10 shlokas will only talk about this issue of what happens to the mind when it is settling inside. Atmanyeva Atmaratihi, it will see the whole world as one. All that Krishna talks actually in Gita. So when the mind settles inside, as its possibility to escape out are all effectively plugged, then it will begin to slowly see the oneness with the Brahman. That is the final takeoff. So far we have been running on the highway, sort of. All the Shravanam is like towing the vehicle and bringing it from the parking bay onto the first stage, if you can take it like that. Mananam is the airplane starts rolling down on the taxiway and goes up to the end of one end of the runway and turns into the runway. Up to that, you can call it as Mananam. Nididhyasanam it is actually running on the runway and picked up enough speed. So when I picked up enough speed, eventually the lift force will apply and the plane will go up. So that in a similar way, the mind has picked up enough momentum now to do the final act, which is discover the world inside, for which it had no time. All these days it was busy doing something else. It had no time for these things. Now it will start doing it. So those are the steps. Now, taking it logically in that fashion, you have these next two instructions. Ekante sukam asyatam. As I told, since the mind has other things which are no longer possible, this will be a very logical outcome. So we will start slowly experiencing that ekanta. Sukam in the ekanta. So it is not being lonely, because lonely is a very terrible psychological condition. It's a medical condition, loneliness. Loneliness means you are deeply agitated. Your being alone is a great source of fear, depression, whatnot. That is not ekanta. The word ekanta means being alone, which is psychologically very positive. It is full energy. It is full positiveness, unlike loneliness, which is exactly the mirror image of it. We are alone. We feel very lonely. We find nothing, no support system around us. There is so much of depression. There is so much of cynicism and so on and so forth. So ekanta is not that. Ekanta will give sukha, not depression. So the mind will naturally go to that situation. So we need to intensify the practice to be alone, not lonely. We have to intensify the practice to be alone. That is what will anyway happen naturally. Look at why this is important. Again, let us go back to Vivekachudamani. Look at what he is saying, Shankarcharya. Yogasya pratama dwaram vang nirodha aparigraha nirashacha nirihacha nityam ekanta shilata. So he lays a few steps for that ultimate takeoff that I was talking about. Yogasya pratamam dwaram, to reach the yoga is unison with Parabrahman. That is the yoga meaning here, not the asanas and all that we are talking about. Here yoga means ultimate union with the Parabrahman. That's because yoga is to unite actually. That's one of the meaning. So yogasya, to reach that ultimate connection with the Lord, pratama dwaram, the first gate for that is vang nirodha. It is that vanmaya tapas. Now in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, when it talks about tapas, it talks about vangmaya tapas, sharira tapas and manasika tapas. Now this vak, actually, vak nirodha is an indication. Don't take it as only for speech or food. Although in this Sadhana Panckam also, it talks about only speech and food. So what it is indicating is that this is probably the one which is ahead of the other indriyas, which needs to be tamed. If you tame this, the others will follow. So by vak, it is not indicated only the mouth. It is indicated that all indriyas nirodha. Mean, stopping their activities unnecessarily, creating troubles and that kind of activities. So vang nirodha, then aparigraha, give up that possession, sense of entitlement in so many things in life. The more and more we are able to detach ourselves from this, that state is called aparigraha. Nirasha. So the more and more aparigraha happens, this wish list will also disappear. we'll take what comes. This nirasha and aparigraha does not mean that we stop to engage with the world. We will not wear a shirt. We will not have this. We will not have that. We will not have food. We will not have a cell phone. It doesn't mean that. It means if it is there, we will use it. If it is not there, nothing happens. Vidivashat prapnena santushyatam. That's what it means. And what comes, you will take. If it is there, we will use it. No craving, no going after it. Those things will disappear. Right? We'll continue to do what best we can do until this body falls. So nirasha, niriha, that sense of entitlement and ahankara, that must also, and after all that, he says nityam ekanta shilata, that the permanent or that continuous feeling of ekanta. That's what here he says, ekante sukham asyatam. That feeling of aloneness, which is a very evolved state of evolution for individuals. One more shloka in Viveka Chudamani also brings why that ekanta is very useful. Look at here. Ekanta sthiti indriyo paramane heturdamaschetasaha samrode karanam shamena vilayam yayadaham vasana tenananda rasayana bhuti rachala brahmi sada yogina tasma chitta nirodhayeva satatam karya prayatnat munehe. So ekanta sthitihi, this ekanta sthiti, what will it do? Shankarcharya says ekanta sthitihi indriya uparamane, that plays a great role in indriya uparamana, which means nigraha, or keeping it to yourself, keeping it very close to yourself, not letting it go out into indriyartha, into the outside world. So ekanta sthitihi indriya uparamane hetuhu, and indriya uparamane hetuhu, on account of this, that is the cause. Why do you need indriya uparamana? Because that is the cause for damaschetasaha. The dhamma, the nigraha, the control we need to have for even the mind and the chitta and all that. For all that you need. So ekanta sthiti eva required. It brings indriya uparamana, which in turn brings damaschetasaha. And in this journey, samrode karanam shamena. So because of this, you develop shama. And because of shama, a lot of your activities with that old way of sense of entitlement, ahankara, and all that can start, fading to the background. So samrode karanam shamena vilayam yaya the aham vasana. So this aham vasana will go there. Ahankara kshaya will happen. All these start from ekanta sthiti. He says that will give us, although we traveled on a reverse. Actually, we said let us practice a little bit of dhamma, a little bit of shama. And if you do all that, and once you reach the state, see the way we have to understand, although we traveled in the reverse, we said we will do dhamma, we will do shama, then slowly we will do titiksha, then manas samadhana will happen. So now we will do ekanta. Now this is going in the other direction. What it says is, once you reach there, once you reach that ekanta sthiti, it will be a point of no return. That is what is to be understood from here. Once you reach, you climb step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Once you reach step 5, it doesn't mean that you will come back to step 1. That's why it says, moment you are in step 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 will disappear. That's what it is saying here. Although to reach step 5, we may use 1, 2, 3, 4 to go there. But after going there, these may not be there. That is what the meaning. So if all that aham vasana and all that, if that happens, then what happens? Tena, on account of this journey that we have made, tena ananda rasayana bhutihi achala brahmi sada. Only out of these we get that Sada Ananda Rasayana Bhuti and Achala, unshaking, uninterrupted Ananda Rasayana Bhuti we will get, which is nothing but the Brahmi, the Parabrahman, Yoginaha. This is how yogis get that. Shankarcharya says, Tasmat, in the last line he says, Tasmat, therefore, Chitta Nirodha eva Satatam Karyaha. That's why Prayatnat Munehe. That's why these Munis, they make a lot of effort, Prayatna, and this Prayatna that they are doing is a perennial act, Satatam Karyaha. And Prayatna for what? Chitta Nirodha eva Karyaha Satatam Prayatnat Munehe. So he says that we should travel from step 1, Dama, go to Shama, go to Titiksha, and then go to Ekanta, step 5. Once you reach step 5, he is now saying 4, 3, 2, 1 are not really required. You may not revisit them, although you use them to climb, you come up to this, and they are all sort of done. So that is why yogis all the time keep it under their continuous surveillance, that Chitta Nirodha eva Satatam Karyaha, and that is why Ekanta Sthitihi Atyavashyaka Bhavati. So these things happen, and once we establish very nicely into it, Paratare Cheta Samadhiyatam will happen. As I told, the mind will now have no place to go outside, so it will start discovering that inside which it never discovered, and it will find that Jiva Brahma Aikyata, somehow it will start experiencing that. That's what it is. So attaining this Paratare Cheta Samadhiyatam will only happen very intermittently, apparently, because when you try it, you get that for a split moment, and again you get back to the mundane world, because it takes all these continuous repeated efforts. But we do get this Paratare Cheta Samadhiyatam experience a little bit, now and then a little bit more, a little bit in a slightly longer duration, and so on. So that is called Savikalpa Samadhi. This is what they term it as. Why? Because we experience a little bit of Samadhi, but the Vikalpas are all there, because we return back. A lot of yogis return back to this mundane world also. It's not that they are there forever. So therefore, this intermittent, but this is clearly the first step, and it is clearly the first step to do that. So intermittently it is happening, therefore it is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Then it says 2 more instructions. Purnatma susamiksyatam jagadidam tadbaditam drishyatam. So the point is, if this experience, that Samadhi, happens momentarily once or twice, then that is the basis on which this will be tried even more. That's the basis on which it will be again. The yogi will now tasted that, so the yogi will only intensify his or her effort. So traveling in this path a little bit more for a little longer time will bring us to these 2 steps. Purnatma susamiksyatam. You get that sampurna anubhava of that Atma. And Shankaracharya uses here 2 upasargas. Iksh is to see. See here is not literally see. That is only in a movie, when a god will come in front in a movie. Here Ikshatam is experience inside. That experience that is happening inside is probably the nearest meaning we can take, Ikshatam. So he puts through 2 upasargas here. Samyak Ikshatam is Samikshatam. Susamyak Iksha, Su is also good. So he wants to communicate that this experience should not be a temporary one. It should not be that which happens with a bit of haziness. By putting two upasargas which says the same meaning, he is very firm. He says this experience is a nishta for you. You are in that experience in an unshaken way. That is what is indicated. That happens if the savikalpa samadhi goes in that path for a long time and so on. So Purna Atma Susamikshatam. So what is this Purna Atma? Purna Atma has essentially, when you say Purna Atma, what we mean are three properties. One is the Atma, which is Desha Kala Aparichinnatva. Meaning, you are able to see that Atma, you are able to experience that Atma, which is beyond time and space. Because the moment you bring time and space, it becomes limited. The limitation will go only when the notion of time and space destroys or disappears. So that is the meaning of Purnatma. Just to give you an example, it's also called Nirupadi, not Sa Upadi. Upadi and Nirupadi. So to give an example, I am sitting in my study, in my house. So this space rather is conditioned by, this is probably, I do not know, maybe about 150 square feet. The ceiling is maybe 10 feet away. Also, it is all limited by space, and it is limited by desha. I am talking of something which is in Banarghatta Road in the IAM campus. These are all called Upadi Sahita. And so is this body. This body is conditioned by 6 feet of height, a certain kilogram of weight, a certain shape, and whatever. It's all limited by that. So this is called, this is not Purnatva. This is the normal understanding of Atma that we have. But Purna Atma is that which, imagine that all these buildings are, all these walls are all broken. Take just my house for a limited example. If we destroy all the, partition walls, then living room will go, dining room will go, kitchen will go, bedroom will go, this study will go, staircase will go. What will remain is what is called space. So understanding space in no way takes away the study room. It brings a new perspective to that this is nothing but a certain manifestation of a mega concept called space. That is what I mean. It doesn't mean this, so this, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya means the Jagat is not going to disappear. But the meaning of what Jagat will disappear, and the certain perspective of Jagat will disappear. In the same way, the living room will remain, but if I am captured by the space, I see it also as a space. The wave, the foam in the tip of the wave, the ocean, the water in the ocean, the water in the form of a steam, the water in the form of ice, the water in the form of a vapor, everything is understood as water. But because I understood as water, none of these forms are going, please understand. The forms are understood as one version of that larger principle called H2O or whatever you want to call it. That is, that getting the larger principle is called Purnatma. So in other words, our ability to experience it beyond the transactional plane, because only in transactional plane you need desha and kala. If I have to live, I have to sleep, I have to take bath, then I need desha kala parichinna. I need a space, a shower, a room, a door for a bathroom. So for a transactional plane, we may need all that. But Purnatma Susamikshatam means while you keep doing transaction, you transcend that plane and understand the Purnatva. That is what that experience will come, is what Shankarcharya is saying. In other words, I want to ask this question: what happens when we see the mirage first time in our life? Maybe we were too young and just 3-4 years. One day we just sort of went on the road along with the father or the mother. It's a tar road, and midsummer, and you find water and all that on the road. This is my first experience, first time. So on seeing it, I would think, oh, there is water. And if a second experience, and if I don't go near it, imagine I don't go near it. Throughout my life, I have been seeing from a distance. Every time I see there is some water, then I would live and die thinking there is water on the tar road. Suppose I go near it, I read a physics book which explains it, basic physics. But to doubly sure, next time that's why I read the physics book, and when I go next time, my curiosity develops, or I do something else. I go near it and I find there is no water. So now I have now seen through the mithya. That is the mithya actually. But please understand, because I finally found that, oh, there is no water, it doesn't mean next time when I go onto the tar road on a summer, water will not exist. Water will still exist. But you know very well it is not water. You have transcended a certain reality which is very contextual. You are able to go beyond it and make sense of it. The same thing will happen with the Purnatva. So the Purnatma, when we do Susamikshita, it doesn't mean all our neighbors and our world disappear. Jagan Mithya doesn't mean that. Mithya means that you see it at a certain level of reality. When you went to another level of reality, you understood it as something else. Therefore, it doesn't exist. It's only a very transactionally existing, like the water, which continues to exist on the tar road. It has a certain role to play, to confuse people for the first time, perhaps. That's the only role it is playing. That is what will happen if you do Purnatma Susamikshitam. It's like seeing the mirage the second time. While the mirage will remain, but your wisdom says there is no mirage, and you'll live with it and you know what to do. In other words, we can become a goldsmith who will see only gold in everything. For him, ornament is second. For him, it is first gold. You give him a gold and bangle, we may be looking at the bank. First thing he will do is it 916? Is it 24 karat? Is it 10 karat? How is it, it's a good quality gold. That's all will run in his mind because he sees gold first. The carpenter will see, if you give a nice wooden piece, first thing he'll do is he'll see, is it teak? Is it what kind of a wood it is? So like that, a Purnatma Susamikshitam will see through people and entities in the Desha and the Kala, whatever Parichinata is happening, he will step beyond it and see the Aparichinata. So that's what is being indicated here. And that is precisely what Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita, that's why he showed Vibhuti Yoga first. Because the Vibhuti Yoga is like the Savikalpa Samadhi. Then he takes us to Vishwarupa Darshana, where we should be able to see the Purnatma. First, we'll have to see Paratare Cheta Samadhiyatam. And then you should be able to see Purnatma. The Purnatma is shown in 11th chapter. Paratare Cheta Samadhiyatam was shown in 10th chapter in the Vibhuti Yoga. So if we are understood and lived through Vibhuti Yoga in its true sense, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga will become a very logical extension to that. So that is what is indicated here by Purnatma Susamikshitam Jagadidam Tadbaditam Drishyatam. So therefore, the whole world, while with all its attendant differences of people, entity, you will understand they are all that one which has gotten into a upadhi. Just like the space got itself into a dining room, space got itself into a bathroom, a living room and a study room, but it was space. In the same way, Purnatma Drishti, when happens, the Jagat will be seen as the Purnatma, which has taken a certain name and shape. Deshakala Parichinna has happened, but it's actually a Parichinna, which has squeezed itself into it. That's why Shankaracharya says, logically it will take us to Jagadidam Tad Badhitam Drishyatam. This Anubhava is what is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because the Vikalpa is gone now. That ignorance or that incomplete picture, thinking they are different from this, that is different, this is different, that has disappeared. So that it becomes Nirupadi, as I indicated already. Therefore, it will become Nirvikalpa from Savikalpa. So this is the logical order. Shravanam will, then Shravanam we go to Mananam. From Mananam we go to Nididhyasanam. And when these are very diligently practiced, that will lead us to Savikalpa Samadhi. And this is all the road by itself. We need to latch on to the first and very genuinely try it. And slowly it will take us. Let it take a little time. Let us not worry. Let it take even a few janmas. Let's get the methodology right and leave the rest to the Bhagavan. Let us not worry. So Shravanam will lead us to Mananam. Mananam will lead us to Nididhyasanam. That will take us slowly to the 4 steps are like that. If you look at Sadhana Panchakam, this entire what I have written here is the 5 shlokas. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Of course, before Shravanam, it also said, clean up your act, do your daily course. When you are young, do all that and do Chitta Shuddhi. So that is a prerequisite to all these. That was the first shloka. So this is how Shankaracharya takes. So basically, the instructions end here. If you were to really look at it, it's all over. From a step of starting our life with all our trials and tribulations, Shankaracharya has given a set of logical steps, practices, sadhanas, and so on. He has brought us to Nirvikalpa Samadhis. Up to that level, he has shown a path. Ideally, should have stopped here. That's over. There should be only 36 steps indicated. So he has added 4 more steps. And that is really the greatness of Shankaracharya, because that is his intellectual genius. So let us see what are those 4 steps and why did he bring those 4 steps after this Jagadidam Tad Baditam Drishitam over. The game is over actually. So let us see. So before we get into the last 4 steps, let's try to understand logically what is possible for a person who has come this far. So the question that remains in us is, what remains for a sadhaka after reaching this point? Looks like we have reached the end point. What more is to be done? That question will come. So Shankaracharya answers that question also. He shows something which basically tells us as to what can happen if somebody goes this far. So we will. So for such a person, the game is over. This is the Bhagavad Leela that we are all going through with all our attendant limitations and all that. But once we figured out this game of life, let us say, then what would we want to do? So we would like to put an end to this game that we have been playing so far, because we have, see, this is like a game that we play, even some of the video games and so on. Once we struggle hard, try it several times, and reach the final, there's nothing more there. That's all. That's it. It may take a lot of time to reach there, but once you reach there, more or less it's done. So this sadhaka would want to put an end to this whole business of the game that he has been playing so far. So far may mean Shatakoti Janmaha. That's what in Viveka Chudamani, at the beginning he says, we take Shatakoti Janmas to find, Manushyatvam, Mahapurusha Samshaya, all that he says. In the starting of Viveka Chudamani. So this we have been playing so far for so long. So now we have to do the winding up. There are a few winding up formalities to be done for the sadhaka. Settle the remaining accounts, because you cannot leave some accounts left, you can't leave it loose and go. Settle the remaining accounts, wind up the establishment, and free up from everything forever. So these are to be done, and Shankarcharya shows how these things would be actually done. That is what he takes us for the remaining last four steps that he is talking about. So 37th step, prakarma pravilapyatam. Then he also says, Chitibalat na apyuttarehi slishyatam. So he says, you exhaust the past karma, which means don't leave any pending arrears. You have to exhaust them. Prakarma pravilapyatam. Exhaust all the remaining accounts, don't leave it. Then he says, now that you have understood the name of the game and you have got this capability to play the game so that we can win, that is a chiti bala, the bala of your chit and your mind. Na api uttaraihi slishyatam. Don't create fresh accounts. Because if we create fresh accounts, then we have to expend it. This is like winding up a business. So far, it has been a going concern. So every year you did a profit and loss account, you did a, balance sheet and so on. Now you want to wind up. When you want to wind up, you have to, nullify assets as well as you can't say I will nullify all liabilities and keep all the assets. No, everything has to go. You have to bring it to zero. That is called liquidation, right? Which means you dispose of all the assets. You address all liabilities, and net of all liabilities, if something is existing, you dispose of all assets, whatever. Finally, assets and liabilities, both sides of the balance sheet should become zero. In the same way, our life, these are very deep ideas. Our life, we cannot have any kind of a karma left. There is no differentiation here between, good karma and bad karma, because good karma will give you punya, bad karma will give you papa. As long as you have punya and papa, you cannot wind the business. It's not possible, because there is some asset or liability still lying. If you really want to wind up the business, assets should become zero, liability must become zero, which means papa karma must become zero, punya karma must become zero. So you cannot do actions for the sake of papa, for the sake of punya, nor can you indulge in actions which will generate papa for you. So the way we do karma will have to change, so that nothing is accumulated. That's what he's saying in these two. So a person who has reached that level will do it, because he or she has seen through this game. So exhausting the past karma with right action now, that is what it means. Prakarma pravilipyatam. And through wisdom, detach from the future karma. Chiti balat, which means this becomes the balance sheet becomes shrinking now. It is not growing. It starts shrinking. Assets are going down, liabilities are going down. One day both sides become zero, which means it's naturally liquidated. You don't take efforts to liquidate. and forcefully throw the assets and liabilities. You work in such a way that slowly the assets and liabilities evaporate from your balance sheet of life. So good karma and bad karma both must. So accumulating karma, good and bad are all not the issue in Vedanta. They are all the issue only in Boga Bhumi. Vedanta, karma is bad. Whether good or bad is not the issue. Karma is undesirable. I wouldn't say bad. Karma is an undesirable condition for finishing the game. So through wisdom, detach from the future karma. Those are the two steps that. So I have already shown it in certain other lectures, but nevertheless, let me contextually I have to bring it because this is the centerpiece of dharmic living. We have to imbibe, we have to understand it very closely. We have to have Shraddha on this concept and we have to own it, take it very seriously. Only then all these steps that we are talking will fructify. Otherwise, it won't. So, first of all, imagine you have accumulated karma called Sanchita karma. We have accumulated so many years because this kind of a wisdom has not dawned on us, which is okay. This is the game that we are playing. Therefore, we have accumulated a lot of karma over several janmas. Imagine that is in this huge beaker and those droplets are all falling in and it is all, sort of filling. As I told you, this game of life, this enterprise called life for the soul, for this Atma, has to close down only when this beaker is empty. So the question is, how do you empty this beaker? You take whatever you can manage for one shot, one-time consumption. That is called prarabdha karma. It's like drawing a portion from this beaker. The beaker may have, if you have accumulated for several thousand janmas, I don't know. If it is a material, the whole world may not be enough to store it. Since it is a demat, it is a certain effects that we have. The effects are plenty. So you can. So what this soul, what this Atma does is it pulls out a portion from this, let us say, the beaker. That is called prarabdha karma. Then it says, if I have to consume this away, because that is my goal. Eventually, I want to make this beaker empty. So the Ishvara inside knows that. It is playing in ignorance. But at least this part it knows very well. So it says, let me find out what would be an ideal condition in which this trolley full of karma that I have picked up can be 100% exhausted in one life. So based on that judgment, it picks up a place and a parentage and it goes there. That's what it does. So the prarabdha manufactures a body. The prarabdha manufactures all associations required for it to lead a life in terms of the surroundings, the job, the friends, the parents, the people, the events, the life, better partner, life partner, siblings, whatever you call it. It creates every condition required so that this trolley will definitely be expended in this janma. So it does that and it definitely empties the trolley. Please be assured of that. But the unfortunate part is in the process of emptying the trolley, we actually seem to be building another trolley. By the way we go about doing it. See, if we have to do a work, there is a way to do a work. You came to finish a task. Let us say we came to finish a task. But in the process of finishing the task, we did it so badly that not only that, of course, we finished it. It took more time and all that, we finished it. But by the process of finishing, we actually set off another set of work for us to do. We messed up something, we created something else. Out of this, we broke something that has to be fixed. Out of this, I did something else, so that has to be sorted out. Imagine like that. So in the same way, when this trolley will be 100% emptied, because that is the rules of the game, and the Parabrahman will not violate. Guarantees are guarantees, no going back on guarantees. So what is brought out is exhausted, no doubt, but we did it so badly that we created one more set of karmas, the freshly accumulated karma, while expending this trolley. And the technical term for that is called agami karma. Why? Because this karma has to be expended only in the future. This janma is ending. This janma never wanted to spend this. This janma wanted to spend that blue trolley only. So once that is spent, the janma will end. So death has to be understood not as an emotional issue. Death need not be understood as ill, bad luck and all that. In this perspective, death means the trolley is over. The trolley is empty. Therefore, the soul says, one round of the game is over, let me go. But while it goes back, it carries, you go to the marriage, when they come out, they give you a tambula. So like that, I put a tambula bag here. So this after this janma, you get a tambula bag and go away. And that bag has fresh set of accumulated karma, which is called agami karma. And where would it go? It will go back to this beaker only. So this is our concept of karma. And the concept of dharmic living should be based on a logic, and that logic must say that the red bag is empty every time when I go for a janma. Anyway, the blue trolley part is taken care of. So I'm not worried so much about the blue trolley. But if the red bag is empty, then this purple beaker will start emptying over time. Because the blue is guaranteed now. If there is something in the beaker, it will come out. So I am not bothered about the blue. That's why we should not bother about prarabdha karma. Although we spend a lot of time bothering about our prarabdha karma. We should never bother about prarabdha karma. We should bother about that agami karma only, which means how do I live this life? That is the opportunity in my hand. Prarabdha karma is not an opportunity in my hand. It is occasion for me to live through in a very without any ability to influence it in any ways. Therefore, our focus must be on the red bag, not on the blue trolley. Although without this understanding this logic, we are so bothered about this prarabdha karma. That's kind of foolish in some sense, but that's what we are doing. So if this is understood, if this whole cycle is understood, let me put it in a flowchart. If you don't like this, I'll put it in a nice flowchart also. S means sanchita karma, which is the balance of accumulated karma. So the first question is S still there? Which means, is there sanchita karma? Is the beaker having something? Question, if you say yes, then take a portion out of it, which is called prarabdha. P. I use it P for prarabdha. So prarabdha karma is a karma taken out to exhaust. Out of that, S. So S will come down now. S becomes S minus P, because so much P has been taken out of it. So the new value of S becomes lesser to that extent. And with this P, which is the prarabdha karma, we begin the janma. And what happens? During the janma, we create a A. A is called agami. It's a new karma accumulator. That is called A. And so the S now becomes S plus A, because this is now poured back into the beaker. So S becomes S plus A. Earlier S becomes S minus P. Now the S becomes S plus A. So it goes back. And this is the circle. This is the cycle, endless cycle of birth and death that our scriptures are talking about, that our, many of our Puranas, everywhere, philosophical texts, everything is talking about it. So the point is that if S is empty, no more sanchita karma, then that is the state of that moksha. Now, chiti balat na api abhyuttarai Slishyatam. That means somebody must understand this logic very well. Very well they should understand. They should stop worrying about B and instead worry about A. So if this logic, if somebody understood so well, that person has the chitibala to do what? To ensure no more karma gets accumulated in the future. So that is what Shankaracharya is saying this in those instruction 37, 38. So that is what I am using these, all these flowcharts and all that to explain. So if he understood this, then that person now understands, don't worry about prarabdha anymore. I have to, go through it. Simply leave it. Prarabdham tu iha, tviha is tu iha. Prarabdham tu iha bhujyatam. Please surrender yourself to prarabdha and go through it. That's all we can do, because that logic clearly tells me I have no locus of control on prarabdha. So what am I going to do? I'll just go through it. Bhagavad Sankalpa is there. The Bhagavad Kataksha, Kripa Kataksha will only facilitate and make this process of going through a little manageable. That's all we can ask for. We cannot ask for discount. We can only ask for, can you help me go through it in a manageable way? That's all we can ask for. So prarabdham tu iha bhujyatam, that gives a new meaning to life and the events that we are currently going through in this life. Lot of vilapana will go, because the arrow has already left the bow. Why are you now bother about where is it hitting, and all that is immaterial now. So therefore, this Janma, our life will have a much better meaning. All some good and bad things that are happening to us is not going to affect us too much if somebody understood this very well. Prarabdham tu iha bhujyatam. So 37, 38, 39, all the three put together, if you take, then what I said exactly will happen. The account will get closed. These are the winding up operations that Shankaracharya is telling us. These are indeed the winding up operations of this enterprise called life, which was a going concern for time immemorial for thousands of janmas. But now we have found a much better thing to do than playing this game of life. Therefore, we go through all these steps and initiate winding up proceedings, because the assets became zero. Steps 37, 38, 39 ensures asset becomes zero, liability becomes zero. So naturally, this enterprise falls on the ground. That's it. The enterprise called life in this perspective is over. Now, at that stage, Shankaracharya brings this final thing. Ata, therefore, because of all these, he says, this game you don't have to play anymore, not required. Therefore, Parabrahmatmana stiyatam, you revel in that Brahman forever. This is called immortality. This is that state of amritatva, not churning this motion of milk. They are stories meant to communicate something. The amritatva is here, that you won over this game of prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, agami karma. Therefore, after that, atha, thereafter, parabrahmatmana stiyatam, you revel in Parabrahman forever. Now, I'll just, that anubhava is just sort of explained in these shlokas. Paripurnam anadyantam paripurnam anadi antam aprameyam avikriyam. These are the descriptions. It is Purnatma. We already said Purnatma. Paripurnam. Anadyantam, Adi Antam, it is bereft of Adi and Anta. Anadyantam. Aprameyam, it is not in a very measurable, it's not in a very, that kind of a, you can, put a sima, it is not simita. Aprameya, avikriyam, it is beyond these transactional things. Avikriyam, ekameva dvayam brahma, neha nanasti kinchana, na iha nanatvamasti. This multiplicity will appear like the mirage, which means they are there. So it will appear like the waves and the steam and the ice and the water, all that. It will appear, but we will see it only at one level. At another level, we will see the water. In the same way, ekameva, it is the paripurnatma that we will see. Ekameva dvayam brahma, na iha nanasti kinchana. Hence, no more of this multiplicity. The multiplicity is a temporary manifestation for some transactional reasons. Deep inside that, it is that oneness, that is what is this Parabrahmatmanastiyatam Anubhava, which in Viveka Chudamani Acharya brings like that. The same thing is also available in all Upanishads in different ways. Yad edeveha tadamutra, yad amutra tadanviha, mrityoho sa mrityumapnoti, ya iha naneva pashyati. Yat eva iha tat amutra. What you see here, you see elsewhere. Amutra is at another place, which means after the soul departs this world, it may go somewhere, including that place. So yad eva iha tat amutra. Yad amutra tat anu iha tadanviha. So what is there? It is yad eva here tad amutra, yad amutra tad anviha. So it is like that. Mrityoho saha mrityumapnoti, yaha iha naneva pashyati. A person who sees only nanatva, multiplicity, always that person seeing only world of multiplicity, fails to see that oneness. Yaha iha naneva pashyati. One who sees all the time only Veda, not that Aikya Bhava, only Veda Bhava. Saha mrityoho mrityumapnoti. He will go from one death to another death, meaning he will be in a continuous cycle of birth and death. So, to escape this cycle of birth and death, this Purnatva has to be realized, the Nanatva has to be given up. That's what these two slokas says. And in a way, that is the experience of that person who reaches the pinnacle of that Purnatma Susamikshyatam, right? Tadidam Jaha Vade, that other thing that we said. If he gets there, he will be in this, he or she will be in this state forever. So that's how Shankarcharya ends this whole Sadhana Panchakam. What I will do is, all the 5 shlokas, I will put it into one slide, meaning what we can take away from the 5 shlokas. I will assemble all of them into a single slide, the way we have seen it all these days. So the first 8 instructions that we saw, Vedo Nityam Adiyatam Taduditam Karma Sonishtiyatam Arabhya Vijagrihat Purnam Vinirgamyatam, up to that, the first 8 that we saw, essentially Acharya is telling us, first get a hold of your life and do a Chitta Shuddhi. Lead your life without a very sort of a, the mind which is very disturbed. because of so many things happening. So that's why he says Vedo Nityam Adhitam, that is the operational manual for us. Taduditam karma sonishtiyatam, teneshasya vidhiyatam apachitihi, kamye matistechyatam, and so on. So get to know and use the operational manual of life. And by properly use the personal gadgets, what I mean by personal gadgets is body, mind, intellect complex. And once you have figured out these, start taking steps to improve effectiveness of life. See that, oh, there is something more that we need to do. This part is fine. This is all indicated in the first shloka, 8 instructions. Then comes the second step. We saw the 3 steps in one of the earlier classes also, only adding 2 more steps to it. Stretch the goals of life. It's not about earning. It's not about, making good money, being comfortable. I think all those are fine at one point in time. But understand that maybe there is much more to do in life. This is all that should happen around the age of 60, around near about that age. I mean, Grihastha is fine. You settle your family and all that. So bhakti with right support systems, and use that bhakti use that upasana as a mechanism by which you start taming the mind, put the wandering mind to rest, and then sadvidwan, sadvidwan supyatam pratidinam tat paduka sevatam. Those 2 steps. Be blessed with a guru. Here, scriptural knowledge, take it from the guru and so on. That is the second shloka is giving us that. So this is the Shravanam. The second shloka is giving us the rudimentary starting point of the bigger journey through what is called Shravanam. So what do we have to learn? I think there's a stage in life where Shravanam has to be done a lot more. We may not be able to do when we were in the active part of our life, in a professional life and family life and so on. But there is a stage in life where we have to do a lot of Shravanam. That is what is indicated here, because that is the real stepping stone for all future steps. Then the third step is step into the realms of self-evolution, which means start the mananam. I mean, that will naturally happen. I will tell you, if you can hear 10 hours a week, that's a good starting point. And if you can go to, if you can adjust your other professional and family, all that, if by God's grace, you have been able to set it. If you can go from 5 to 10 hours to 20 hours of listening, then that itself will take us to introspection, because we will not be blindly listening. Slowly it will start hitting us, and the idea will come, and the mind space will be occupied by those thoughts that whatever what we have heard will reverberate in our mind and so on. So introspect on the ideas in the Upanishads, slowly begin to inquire into the oneness. Aham brahmaham iti vibhavyatam. That's what it says. You will find that actually. Garva parityajatam and all that will be that. In the third shloka, distance from the personal gadgets will start happening in its own way. It will slowly start. So the third shloka is about mananam. Then the fourth shloka is about nididhyasanam, because that mananam, the more and more we do, it will push us into trying. And only by that action, we'll get the anubhuti. So get anubhuti through practice, transition from knowledge to action. And the more and more we do it, a lot of ideas about life, a lot of assumptions about nitya, anitya, and all that gets a little more clarified. Therefore, we will all these will happen very naturally, let me tell you. If you give a genuine effort at each step, it will lead us, it will handhold us and take us to the next step automatically. So we will move towards that aloneness, ekanta. Slowly it will happen in its own ways. So those are indicated in the fourth shloka. Then comes the last shloka. Once we are there, experience Samadhi here and now, and do the winding up businesses, exhaust the karma and escape the cycle of birth and death. and become one with Brahman. So this is what in my small little way, whatever little way I could, whatever extent I could do my own little bit of thinking, I have been able to draw these ideas from this great, beautiful shloka, Sadhana Panchakam. I must first thank coronavirus for this and all of you, because I have been always wanting to dip a little deeper into this Sadhana Panchakam, and it had to wait this lockdown for that to happen. So my grateful thanks to you all people, and my grateful thanks to the Lord who manifested, who is manifesting in the form of Corona also for whatever reasons we do not know. Because that lockdown brought me wheels down onto this Sadhana Panchakam, and I am personally very grateful to the Lord for this opportunity. So I will end by reciting all the 5 shlokas in one shot. It's very nice. So therefore, we will recite it one last time, and then I will leave it at that. Vedo nityamadhiyatam taduditam karmaswanishtiyatam teneshasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papaugha paridhuyatam bhavasuke doshonusandhiyatam आत्मेच्छा व्यवसीयतां निजगृहात् तूर्णं विनिर्गम्यताम् संगसत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयतां शान्त्यादिपरिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्मासु संत्यज्यताम् सद्विद्वान् उपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुका सेव्यतां ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्त्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम् वाक्यार्थश्च विचार्यतां श्रुतिशिरः पक्ष समाश्रीयतां दुस्तर्कात् सुविरम्यतां श्रुतिमतस्तर्कोऽनुसन्धीयताम् ब्रह्मास्मीति विभाव्यताम् अहरः गर्वपरित्यज्यतां देहेऽहमतिरुज्यतां बुधजनैः वादपरित्यज्यताम् क्षुद्व्याधिश्च चिकित्स्यतां प्रतिदिनं भिक्षौषधं भुज्यतां स्वादन्नं न तु याच्यतां विधिवशात् प्राप्तेन सन्तुष्यताम् शीतोष्णादि विषह्यतां न तु वृथा वाक्यं समुच्चार्यताम् औदासीन्यमपीप्स्यतां जनकृपा नैष्ठुर्यम् उत्सृज्यताम् एकान्ते सुखमास्यतां परतरे चेतः समाधीयतां पूर्णात्मासु समीक्ष्यतां जगदिदं तद्बाधितम् Okay, I think today it has been all the time going, falling, and again dropping. Anyway, so with this, I want to complete Sadhana Panchakam. I have only two more observations to make. The first one is I personally believe this is very important for all of us who are on a path of self-evolution. Therefore, I have two requests to make. Please read the shloka every day and commit it to your memory so that we should come into our smarana every day morning. Because that itself will push us towards these 40 steps. Second thing I want to tell you is I think intermittently, if you want to dose you up into a little bit of spiritual thinking, please listen to these lectures. I think Shankarcharya has given us a lot of ideas in these 5 beautiful shlokas. So it may be a good idea to keep listening to this intermittently whenever it is required. These are my 2 humble suggestions. It is up to you to decide how to go forward. So with these few words, I take this opportunity to thank you. I also want to pray to Jagan Mata and Jagadishwara, right, to save all of us, give us our peace of mind, give us meaning to what is happening in the country and the world over on account of so many things that are happening. Give us wisdom, give us strength, and all that so that we go on and exhaust our prarabdha karma the way we have to exhaust. I want to make a very special prayer to 2 categories of people. The first category is all the so-called corona warriors, who are all the doctors, the public government servants, the policemen, the paramedical staff, the ASHA volunteers, the health volunteers, all of them. I want to make a prayer. I want to pray to the Lord on behalf of all of you. All of you also join me in this prayer, that let them have peace of mind, health, and prosperity for all that nishkamya karma that they are doing. The last category, which I want to also very deeply pray, is lakhs and lakhs of poor people, including migrant workers. It is heart-wrenching to read what is happening. It is hard to blame the government because such a large-scale catastrophe cannot be handled by the government. We all have to pitch in and see how we can help them. They are going through real trouble. We are all blessed on account of whatever our past karmas are. I want to pray that these poor people get back peace of mind, 3 meals of food, and a little happiness that they need. And let Jagannatha and Sarveshwara provide them to all of them. And with these few words, let me close this session. With this Corona series, I am closing down because I think we will get back to our other things. Our Sunday series will anyway continue. Thank you, and I will recite the Shanti mantra and end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.